Okay, so very grateful to have Rosana here today to kick us off. Chile has been a member of the OA Alliance since the beginning, and Rosana has been an incredible partner this year as we have moved towards all things COP planning. So Rosana, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, so it's Rosana Garay, by the way. Maldonado is my second last name. That's kind of different in our country, but it's Garay.
I apologize, Rosana Garay.
Don't worry. So thank you, Jessie. I'm glad to have this opportunity to share the presidency's views on COP to this incredible audience. I didn't know that you were going to be that much, so I'm pleased. Well, the agenda says made reference to 3 elements, but I'm not to talk about logistics today since it's not my specialty. So first, I'm going to make an overview of the goals and outcomes of COP25, and then how we all can contribute to the Blue COP. So, as you know, Chile had to take the difficult decision to not host COP25 in Santiago due to the change of priorities in our government caused by the impacts of the social movements here in Chile. This was not an easy decision, but we are fully committed to the process, which made us work even harder these last weeks to fulfill our duties as presidency of COP25. For us, it is important to maintain COP25's essence as a Latin American and Caribbean conference, emphasizing, for example, the importance of the adaptation through a high-level dialogue. Our high vulnerability and the increase in the frequency and intensity of extreme weather events have generated higher demand for resources. We are facing extreme weather phenomena such as drought, more frequent extreme floods, large-scale wildfires, and torrential rain, all of them affecting development capabilities and trigger social conflicts. Well, you know, the COP25 marks the end of a long negotiation process to agree on the last rules and guidelines for the Paris Agreement. But at the same time, we think of it as a starter point of a new phase, more oriented towards concrete action and policy implementation related to climate change. This will significate a complex agenda of negotiations, and we will always try to find the paths that leads to consensus, aiming to conclude the negotiations toward the implementation of Article 6 of the Paris Agreement, and also to identify adequate sources of climate finance. Well, this is the first COP before the implementation of the Paris Agreement. That is why during COP25, we seek to boost the Alliance for Climate Action by incorporating new actors and new issues, especially highlighting the participation of local governments and companies. Among these issues, we can highlight the importance of the ocean and cryosphere as global regulators, global climate regulators, and also the role of science, electromobility, and renewable energies. This is very related with our effort to have a Blue COP. We want to highlight the critical ocean and climate nexus momentum. And for this, we are thinking the Blue COP as a 3-dimensional concept. So the first one is related with the negotiations. We have been encouraging parties to discuss how to integrate ocean issues into the process and to develop a further technical work based on scientific evidence. As I said, we truly believe there is an ocean and climate momentum and we need to arise and we need to seize. The third dimension is related to climate action. We believe that climate change is a collective task that must be resolved not only by the parties of the convention, but also with the cooperation of the private sector, civil society, the scientific community, and academia. In this matter, we are building a platform on science-based ocean solutions, so parties will have a space with solutions that can help them to update their NDCs and other national commitments. This platform will be officially announced on December 3rd on COP25, and we are thrilled to have the Ocean Acidification Alliance supporting us. Well, the third dimension is the one we call political dimension. The Blue COP gave the necessary push to other parties and other actors to rethink how they are taking care of the ocean from climate change. We believe that we must encourage this and to maintain these efforts and to highlight them. So I don't know if you know, but we are having more than 70 ocean-related events during COP in different pavilions, official spaces of the IFEMA. So we want to highlight these incredible efforts, incorporating a blue agenda in the COP25 website. Well, summing up, we hope that at the end of COP25, we can agree on practical steps to take us a little closer to a future that is safer for the next generation. That's how we can sum up what we really want with COP25. And this includes oceans. So when you ask how you can help us, I mean, well, first supporting the Chilean platform, that's very nice, but also maintaining the constant effort because local governments, private and non-governmental are fundamental to help parties in the implementation or on their NDCs and national commitments. So we really want to this COP25 be Blue COP, but also we want to maintain the blueness in the next COPs, you know. So actually we're working with UK in a common agenda, and one of the topics that we are working is ocean. So when we say what do we want, what do we need, is to maintain this constant effort to integrate an ocean component in the process, but not only in the negotiations, instead of in the other activities in the climate action. So that's all that I had to say. I don't know if you have any questions.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Lizana. I appreciate it very much. I think we probably won't open it to questions for you because you're sort of our key speaker, and we can go into, into other speakers. But I would just say that we are incredibly grateful for your partnership and for Chile's leadership at this COP. And we are all very excited to show up and support the Ocean Solutions platform, as you have mentioned. And just incredibly grateful for your leadership of the OA Alliance as well as a little initiative. You guys have been a huge part in that, so thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Jessie?
Mateus, yes. Would you like to maybe introduce yourself and provide any other comments you'd like?
Just want to build up on Rosana's comments. My name is Matias Alcalde. I represent the Chile California Council. And this is very impressive what you've done, what all the different leaders from this list have done to arrange this amazing group of people working together. I wanted to put a highlight there that this at least from the establishing the name of the Blue COP and now being all together speaking about this and how we can collectively bring action, I think it's an immense purpose for the social work that is provided from these groups. It's amazing how you described and there's a lot of the world surrounded. And I wanted to build up on what Rosana was commenting and what Chile's intent about building this green zone and how that connects to highlighting local governments, municipalities, and this content open up to people. I think we all here have a mission to open this up to people. As Rosana was saying, highlighting Latin American vibes and feeling for this COP, it also has to come with an understanding that there are many underdeveloped countries that also are trying to tackle climate action while not having many social issues solved so far. That's a strategy that also has to come to build up social issues into the blue agenda. And I think the configuration and everything that we've been seeing from this group has been amazing. And I wanted to highlight that this is an amazing group of people that hopefully we can continue after COP, as Rosana was mentioning. Chile will be having the presidency for the whole year. So just want to thank everybody for building this up, and hopefully we can keep building the program so we're all on the same page for Madrid.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Mateus. Well, that's great. Well, that's a lovely, I think, kickoff to the webinar today and to COP next week for all of us. So with that, I'll thank you, Rosanna, and I know you're very busy, so if you need to jump off, that is a-okay. And I will turn to Sarah Cooley, our next presenter, with Ocean Conservancy to present about the special report on Ocean and Cryosphere. And sort of its relevance, main findings and relevance to this particular COP. So Sarah, can you hear me okay?
I can. Hopefully you can hear me as well. I did take myself off mute today.
Thank you. That sounds great. Well, I will go ahead and pull your slides up here. And
all right. Well, while Jesse queues up my slides, I'll just remind you, I'm Sarah Cooley from Ocean Conservancy. I wanted to echo Ocean Conservancy's thanks, and I think the entire community's thanks to Rosanna and Matthias and their teams in putting together this gigantic convening. I think there's a lot of excitement around what's going to happen in the next few weeks. So it's just, you know, really a tremendous opportunity to raise the voice of the ocean. So I'm here today to tell you a little bit about the alphabet soup that is on my first slide, the IPCC, the SROCC or SROC, and COP25. I am an ocean scientist by training who works in policy development and implementation. I'm also an author on the next IPCC's assessment report. So think of me as a knowledgeable neighbor in the ocean acidification community. If you have a question about how the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change works or how it gets used by the UNFCCC process, I will probably have to research the answer and get back to you because I'm not an expert in IPCC Secretariat things. I can speak to sort of the top line interactions between the science and the policy process, and I can certainly speak to the science in more detail. Next slide, please. So I'm here today to tell you a little bit about the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, or IPCC's latest report. The IPCC is the United Nations body for assessing the science related to climate change. It was created to provide policymakers with regular science assessments on climate change, so at regular intervals, the implications of climate change and the potential future risks associated with it, as well as putting forward adaptation and mitigation options. The IPCC assessments determine the state of knowledge on climate change. They really identify where the science community agrees on topics related to climate change and where more research is needed to identify what is the real condition. The reports are drafted and reviewed in many stages, and so this helps guarantee objectivity and transparency. The IPCC itself does not conduct its own research. In fact, that research is the work done by the IPCC is actually assessment and evaluation of existing research. So IPCC reports are neutral, policy relevant, but not policy prescriptive reports. They're a really important input into international negotiations to address climate change. The IPCC was created by the United Nations Environment Program and the World Meteorological Organization in 1988. The IPCC has 195 member countries. Also in 1988, the UN General Assembly endorsed the action by the WMO and UNEP in jointly establishing the IPCC. So the special report that came out this year on oceans and cryosphere, it really assesses the literature to understand the physical processes and impacts of climate change on oceans, coastlines, polar and mountain ecosystems. It also looks at consequences from human communities and the options that people have to adapt to climate-related changes for a more sustainable future. So the special report that we're talking about here was prepared following a decision of the governments in 2016 as part of the 6th assessment cycle. So more than 100 scientists from more than 30 countries assessed the latest knowledge. Not only were the impacts of physical changes in the physical science system on these ocean systems and cryosphere systems were assessed, but also the adaptation capacity was evaluated. This special report on the ocean and cryosphere in a changing climate, or SROC, also follows another special report that was released shortly beforehand, called the Special Report on Climate Change and Land. And then there was another one that was released a year prior to that, which was the Special Report on Global Warming of 1.5 degrees Celsius. So the USROC report was the latest, released in September 2019. And really, the top line outcome, conclusion of this is really that it is urgently reducing greenhouse gas emissions is going to limit the scale of ocean and cryosphere changes, and that way the ecosystems and livelihoods that depend on them can be preserved. Next slide, please. So some very high-level takeaways that are contained in the report. First of all, we know that the Arctic and polar regions are already facing many threats. Marine ecosystems are changing, and they're bringing new challenges to human communities who depend on them. Sea level rise is accelerating, and the impacts are putting communities and coastal economies at risk. Now, if you're at all familiar with ocean science in the last decade, you might think, we know this. And that's the thing. This report was intended to bring together all of what is known and examine the quality of the evidence around that and understand exactly how certain we are about these takeaways. We are quite certain about these takeaways. Next slide, please. So there are a number of ocean acidification relevant findings. They're mainly found in Chapter 5, if you're interested in diving into the report. And we know that the ocean is going to continue to acidify in response to ongoing ocean carbon uptake. We have quantitative measurements of how much that has happened, and we have some computer model aided projections of how much that will advance according to different scenarios of CO2 emissions. The next item is that these changes in ocean state can actually influence seasonal cycles. We see that the seasonal cycle of global surface ocean carbon dioxide concentrations increased the seasonal amplitude or the seasonal range that conditions will go through significantly in the last 2 to 3 decades. And there are going to be more changes of seasonal cycles that are also expected in the future. We know that there are significant responses by organisms to the multiple stressors of ocean acidification, as well as warming and oxygen loss that accompany it. And we also know that these responses can either add up, they can cancel each other out, which is really less likely, or they can be synergistic, which means their sum can be greater than the effect, sorry, can be greater than the sum of their parts. So overall, we know that there are these significant responses, and we know that there will be some very challenging to predict changes in ocean ecosystem composition and possibly function as a result. We know that, excuse me, deep ocean biodiversity and habitat support linked to certain services that provide us with food and raw materials in the deep ocean could change. We know that the effects of warming on the ocean's phytoplankton, or the algae that create oxygen and grab carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, are going to be worsened by acidification. We also know that reducing nitrogen and phosphorus loading from the land, or what we call nutrients more broadly, it might actually expand carbon storage if we reduce these inputs, because it will favor healthy activity of ocean microbial life. And that's also going to have important co-benefits, because reducing nutrient runoff from the land can reduce harmful algal blooms, oxygen loss, and acidification as well. And I'd also like to point out that in Chapter 5, there's a very nice summary in box 5.6 of the policy responses to ocean acidification. Now remember that the IPCC reports are not policy prescriptive, but in this box, the authors did a very nice job of examining where acidification fits into the policy space. and what various researchers have proposed as next steps forward. So they really are looking at the balance of evidence that we have in terms of what is happening and what is possible. Next slide, please.
Thanks, Sarah. And just giving a 3-minute warning.
Thanks. So there's a lot of questions about how the SROC report will help shape COP25. I think first and foremost, it's very timely. The desire to have a blue COP organized by Chile is coming directly on the heels of the release of this report. Because these reports are not policy prescriptive and they bring together the latest science and identify urgent areas, we have sort of a front of mind consciousness of where we need to be for ocean acidification progress. And so even in the headlines, even in the press release, there's a huge underscoring of the need to mitigate carbon dioxide emissions. Next slide, please. This is another thing. So Chile's Minister of Science really pointed out how important it is for scientists and policymakers to use this high quality evidence and really contribute to decision making. And I think this is where a group like the Alliance can make a difference. Next slide, please. Just quickly giving you a sample of the takeaways, the high-level takeaways. Again, cutting greenhouse gas emissions is going to limit the impacts on ocean ecosystems that are providing us with food. Reducing other pressures will also help marine life deal with changes in their environment. These scientific messages are entirely in step with the messages being promoted by groups like the Alliance in terms of how do we operationalize those sorts of changes. Next slide, please. Another point from the other co-chair of the IPCC working group that oversaw this report, Deborah Roberts, points out that the sooner and more decisively we act, the more we can address these unavoidable changes and manage risks and achieve true sustainability now and going forward in the future. Next slide, please. And then the IPCC chair has picked up this message as well. And in the public presentation of this report to the world, in addition to the remarks from Hans and from Deborah, he really points out that if we reduce emissions sharply, there will be challenging moments ahead, but this is going to be making life more manageable for those who are the most vulnerable, and we will be having more benefits as a result. Associated with sustainable development. So I think the Alliance is really in a position to advocate for solutions that are policy prescriptive and specific, which the SROC report cannot do, but groups can do that basically on the level foundation presented by the SROC of explaining how well do we know the changes happening in the ocean and where do we need to know more. The Alliance can share specific information about what works and what doesn't, given the real-world obstacles that Alliance members are dealing with in the socioeconomic and policy spaces. And that's all I have today. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Sarah. That's a fantastic 10-minute overview of the report, Chapter 5, and relevance to COP and to the Alliance or groups like. So masterfully done, and thank you very much for doing so. Any questions for Sarah or Dr. Cooley? And know that you are on mute likely, so you'll have to unmute yourself if you'd like to ask a question. Okay. All right, well, thank you very much, Sarah. This is greatly appreciated, and since we are going through all sorts of things, I really want to thank Ocean Conservancy for all of your partnership as a co-founder of the Alliance and everything you guys have done to support and advance this work, including having an OA action plan of your own as an NGO. So
thank you. And we're happy to chat through that with anyone. That's actually part of our commitment to the Alliance, that we will work through thinking through action plans with anyone who needs a little help. So feel free to call on us to be helpful in whatever way we can. Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah. Great. So next of our speakers is Ms. Lorelei Pricot, who is the Director of International Affairs with a group called the Ocean Climate Platform. and has been heavily engaged in ocean programming and ocean days at COPs since about COP21 in Paris. Lorelei, can you hear me okay?
Yes, perfectly. Can you hear me?
I can. If you can turn up the volume ever so slightly, I think that would be okay, but we can hear you.
Okay, great. Well, first of all, thank you very much, Jessie, and good evening, afternoon, morning.
Afternoon.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, I'm having big echoes here. I don't know if that's on my side.
No, that's okay. We just
Okay.
solved it, I think.
Okay, good. Thank you very much. Yeah, and thank you to OA Alliance, of course, for organizing these very helpful seminars online, and they're always very well organized. I'm very impressed. So, in a few seconds, you should see my slides up on the screen. So as mentioned by Jessie, I'm Laura Picourt, and I work for the Ocean and Climate Platform. I am going to talk to you about not only Oceans Day, but the role of civil society in the UNFCCC process and in this complex situations that are the COPs, and how can civil society really well, first of all, have an impact and to some extent influence those processes. So next slide, please.
And really quickly, Lorelei, I use the word because you do, civil society, because that's the term that has a particular meaning in the UN. But can you quickly share with everyone on the line who might not know what civil society refers to in the COP or UNFCCC landscape?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, civil society is basically everyone who's not a member state. So if you're not from a country parties to the UNFCCC, you're technically from civil society. And the way we participate in the COPs, for instance, is through a UN observer status, which means that we don't have a vote in the negotiations. For instance, that's exclusively for the parties and the countries, but we have a way of participating in the COPs by organizing events or obviously having bilaterals with the countries, and in that sense, actually, the graph that you have in front of you is quite helpful, because the Ocean and Climate Platform itself is a coalition from over 70 organizations. So may it be NGOs, foundations, aquariums, scientific institutes, and that represents civil society. And we were actually created at COP21. So next slide, please. With the idea of having a strong coalition for the ocean, because we realized that before COP21 that the ocean was not really addressed within the climate negotiations, even though we know that the ocean is one of the main regulators for the climate system. So with the Paris Agreement being negotiated, this coalition of non-state actors, as I mentioned, decided that it was time to rally their forces to get the ocean under the spotlight at COP21. So next slide, please. I'm going to go a bit quickly in the what happened in the past, because we have quite a few things to discuss for the Blue COP. But basically, the big mobilization, this strong coalition of international actors, led to an ocean call for the climate that was signed by 10,000 people. And actually, I checked last week, and now it's double the number of signatures. Us as the Ocean and Climate Platform, we published policy recommendations that were addressed to decision makers to identify the key aspects that we wanted to raise within the climate negotiations. And one of those recommendations was actually the publication of an IPCC Special Report on the ocean, which we actually had this year, as Sarah just presented. And so basically this big mobilization of actors led to the inclusion of the ocean within the preamble of the Paris Agreement, and is also referred to in articles referring to mitigation. Next slide, please. But what's important as well is that we had this huge political momentum at COP21, but with regards to ocean mobilization, it's important to realize that it's been growing, and that we hope that it's going to culminate now with the Blue COP being organized by Chile now in Madrid. So if you look quickly at the timeline in front of you, you see that in the following years after COP21, there was the Global Climate Action Agenda, which was launched and is now the process in which we have the action days dedicated to the ocean, for instance. And through the what we call the Marrakesh Partnership and this Global Climate Action Agenda, a bunch of initiatives were created to establish a dialogue between state actors and non-state actors. And in that regard, we, with the Ocean and Climate Platform, we launched the Ocean and Climate Initiatives Alliance, which if you go to, not next slide, but 2 next slides, because I'm going to go through these a little bit more quickly, please.
One more?
Yeah, perfect. That's perfect. And the idea with the Ocean and Climate Initiatives Alliance was to go beyond, again, that political momentum and start talking about solutions, ocean-based solutions for both climate mitigation and adaptation. So that was supposed to be a bit of a Pandora box to make decision makers realize that there are a bunch of solutions that exist. So the ocean is not just a victim of climate change, it's a complete part of the solution as well. If you go to the next slide, please. And in that sense, that's how we actually started working with the International Alliance to Combat Ocean Acidification. I had the pleasure to meet Jessie and work with her when we were writing the first report of that alliance, which was on measuring the progress of ocean and climate initiatives. So it was really action oriented. And it was launched at COP23. And in that report, we were addressing different themes of actions, from acidification to marine protected areas to the resilience of ecosystems. And well, I mean, the graph that you have in front of you showing the little ID for OAA is a bit outdated since it was published in 2017, but that's to show that multilateral cooperation go through multidisciplinarity as well, that we need to all collaborate, and that science-based information is absolutely crucial in moving from science to policy and moving from science to action. So if you go to the next slide, please. So if we want to talk a little bit about the Blue COP as well, and how civil society together with other actors and member states are going to make that COP blue, as it was announced by the COP presidency. And if you go to the next slide, Rosanna already went through this, but it's true that I think it's important to recall that the best thing that we can do for the ocean and for the planet in general is to achieve the objective of the Paris Agreement, and primarily to reduce GHG emissions. That's the best thing that we can do. But so that's why we have a part at the Blue COP that will be focused on the negotiations, maybe the Paris rulebook, the mechanism on loss and damages, hopefully this year, the welcoming of the conclusions of both reports, not only Ocean and Cryosphere, but also the report on land that came out this summer, and also how this global climate action agenda will evolve. It is supposed to come to an end, but countries have expressed their interest in having it being pursued in a different or maybe a similar format. And in terms of action really related to the ocean, we expect more ambitious with regards to the climate pledges, which are also called the nationally determined contributions, the NDCs. And with the Blue COP coming up, we hope to have more announcements of countries taking into account ocean-related measures in their NDCs and climate strategies. So if you go to the next slide, please.
Thanks, and I'll give a 3 or 4 minute warning. Thanks, Lorelei.
Okay, well, I just wanted to say that very recently, well, actually in the last 3 days, Jessie and I, with the Because the Ocean Initiative as well, have been planning a very high-level event at the French Pavilion with the participation of the French Prime Minister, as well as other high-level speakers. The Prince Albert II of Monaco will also attend the session to properly launch that Blue COP and have really strong political commitment to the ocean and climate nexus, and really raise ambition to achieve the objective of the Paris Agreement and protect biodiversity as well. So if you go to the next slide. As I mentioned, the Ocean Action Day are now a fully integrated part of the COP, and usually we have, 3 hours. But this year, because it's the Blue COP, we have managed, and especially the Global Ocean Forum, who is coordinating this effort, they have managed to get the Ocean Action Day running over 2 days. So it will be a very strong focus on what are the challenges. And the different experiences, this sharing of experiences between all the communities that have to implement climate strategies, and how the ocean falls into place in this, and what have been the progress in terms of science. So we have of course, the IPCC report, which will have a very strong focus in these discussions, but also with regards to the revisions of the national pledges, the NDCs, next year in 2020. So if you go to the next slide, I will dive right in with another partner, the Because the Ocean initiative, which was also launched at COP21, and now it gathers 39 countries. And what they have done in the last couple of years is quite extraordinary, because they've had workshops all around the globe in 3 different regions that presented scientific outcomes of the ocean and climate nexus, and we discussed really with the countries on how to include the ocean under the UNFCCC, and what does that really mean. There were talks about having an agenda item dedicated to the ocean, but the whole idea was to understand what is that already existing within the UNFCCC processes and the Paris Agreement mechanisms to include ocean-related measures into not only the NDCs, but now also the NAP's nationally adaptation plans and the communication plans as well. So in that report that I invite you to read on the Because the Ocean website, they have identified a set of measures. So from the mitigation point of view, so for instance, protecting blue carbon ecosystem to increase their capacity to absorb and sequester CO2, or develop blue energy, so related to wind energy, tidal energy, and make sure that we invest into marine renewable energies, basically. And then, for example, number 3 is more of an adaptation measure. So we can talk about marine protected areas and how coastal adaptation can have a positive impact for adaptation. And the last 2, sustainable fisheries and greening shipping, of more hybrid solutions on basically how ocean-related measures can have an impact both for mitigation and adaptation. So for instance, adaptations on measures to reduce fisheries and aquaculture vulnerability to climate change, to better restore coastal fisheries, for instance, but also improving fuel efficiency for fishing gears and in the production processes. So yeah, that will be the Because the Ocean initiative that will launch the report as well at the same time as the Ocean platform that Rosanna mentioned. And if you go to the next slide, I will go through that very quickly. The Ocean and Climate Platform, together with its 75 members and the great help of both Ocean Conservancy actually and OA Alliance, we are publishing our renewed policy recommendations. They address not only the ocean climate nexus, but also the ocean climate biodiversity nexus. Those 3 elements are absolutely interestingly linked and very important, especially for next year's agenda. So if you go to the next slide, I just wanted to raise that there's a very important biodiversity agenda next year with the IUCN World Congress, the SDG 14 conference in June, and of course the COP15 of the Convention on Biological Diversity. So one of the things that we will be advocating for at the Blue COP and beyond will be to truly identify synergies between the different environmental agreements and environmental conventions, and how bodies dealing with both ocean, climate, and biodiversity need to work together between their COPs, for instance, or their other subsidiary bodies on technology, on science, as well as their action agenda. So that will be my conclusions. Thank you very much for your time, and apologies for my voice because I am losing it apparently. So thank you very much.
Oh, thank you so much, Lorelei. That's a lovely presentation and a lot to keep track of. And you know, I think you can see from this presentation how much energy, how much momentum, how many partners are really part of this effort. And as we are moving towards these reports, recommendations in the policy space, how we integrate that in something like a Ocean Solutions platform that Rosanna described and will be kicking off on December 3rd, I think is a lovely culmination of this work. So thank you, Ever, for your partnership. And I think if someone has a question, we probably can do one, but if not, I think I'll open for questions if anyone has one. Okay, well, thank you so much, Lorelei, for staying up late in Paris, your time. Appreciate it and very much look forward to Oceans Day. We will be there with you. And I think before introducing our final speaker, my hope was, as program manager of the Alliance, to give you all on the line a quick sense of how the Alliance will be participating at Oceans Day and across these events. So just to give you a quick snapshot here on screen, we, the OA Alliance, and all members therein, are participating in about, or participating in several, but are hosting or co-hosting about 4 side events, so the Blue Zone at COP, and you can see them here. You've got the French Pavilion event that Lorelei described on December 2nd. That will be the first day, kicking off the Blue COP. Still working a little bit on what that's going to look like, but we believe that will come together quite nicely. We have an event at the Pacific Pavilion on December 6th, and that brings together lots of our partners and members from New Zealand, Fiji, Cook Islands, Tokelau, partners through the Global Ocean Acidification Observing Network, and affiliate members like Pacific Community, and that will be really a focus on some of the monitoring, adaptation, and resiliency work taking place in the Pacific Island region, and mainstreaming OA into national policies in the Pacific. Thirdly, we'll have a lovely event at the Chilean Pavilion on the 2nd day of Oceans Day, co-hosted with Mateus, who you heard at the top of the call, from the Chile-California Council, as well as our government partners in Chile, California, Washington, and potentially, hopefully, representatives from Monaco or Spain participating in that event. We'll also be able to showcase a lot of the regional work on monitoring and science that is going on this topic, particularly our partners in OA Africa, who I believe are on the line with us today, out of Egypt, as well as networks in Latin America. The LAOCA is the Latin American OA network, which covers many countries in Latin America, as well as PAITOA, which is a monitoring network in the Pacific. And then lastly, we'll have an event at the US Action Pavilion. This will really focus on subnational leadership, particularly in the US and along the the west coast of North America. We'll have representatives from several states, including California, Washington, Maryland, Hawaii, and hopefully one of our partners, government members, the Quinault tribe, might be able to participate in that event. So that's a snapshot, but of course there's many ways to track this information, including through myself, and then we will point you all to information about where some of these schedules are going to be living on the COP website and other ways to access this type of information. So with that, Louisa, you've been very patient. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you okay.
Lovely. Okay, our last presenter will be Louisa telling us more about a new platform that has been launched called the Virtual Blue COP. And this is an opportunity for everyone who is not attending, and even those who are attending the Blue COP, to track activities through this new virtual portal. So I'll turn it over to Louisa, and I'll just let you know. Feel encouraged to run a couple minutes over, and I'll ask all of our members on the line to stay 2 or 3 minutes. We usually have great success in having 2 or 3 minutes run over, so go ahead and we'll operate with the assumption that that will happen. So thank you, Louisa.
So hi everyone, I'm going to present to you the Virtual Blue COP25. This is an early career initiative from my team from Paris and Germany. So it's basically a series of free live virtual events featuring a range of international and local experts, individuals, and communities who are passionate about ocean and climate change related themes relevant to the COP25. So it's good that we had an introduction about the COP already, so we can jump into the next slide right away. So basically, our goals are to bring partners and speakers to the COP with virtual communication. It's also about giving insights into the COP25 negotiations and increasing public engagement in ocean science and increasing the participation in global meetings without necessarily having to increase the travel-related emissions. So we can go to the next one. So we have demands that we're bringing to the COP25, which are also maybe the outcomes. It would be to decrease emissions produced by scientists and politicians traveling to these international meetings, encourage and support financial virtual meetings as an alternative to on-site meetings, facilitate the participation of early careers, minorities, and southern countries in global and decisional meetings and processes. It is also for us very important to listen to the youth from Fridays for Futures and similar youth initiatives. You can go to the next one. So it all started with a small team of early career in Paris, but it grew up to be with partners from all around the world. So the early careers were initially from Future Earth, and then the rest of our partners are Ocean CAN, Ocean Conservancy, the Ocean University Initiative, the European Space Agency, Marine Collaboration, the Junga Academy, Observatory for Marine and Coastal Governance, and the INC Communications. So this is a list of the main partners, but we have obviously collaborations with many other organizations from all around the world. So we can go to the next one, yes. So how does it work? How is it possible to kind of bring all these partners and all of these people in one platform, but also into the COP25? So on this slide, you can see the world, basically, our partners, and then we bring them together into Zoom, so the same platform we're using now, which then we transfer into YouTube Live, because all our events are live, and so anyone can participate with simply using the YouTube link. And then we use Slidos for questions, so it is also interactive, and there can be questions asked at any time. And so then this goes to the COP25, so that will start next week. And basically we'll have a room where we're gonna broadcast our virtual events, but also the people will have an insight of the COP25. So we can go to the next slide. So this is what I really want to talk about today. It's the Ocean Day. It's going to be the 7th of December. And it's going to be our biggest input during the COP. So it's basically, we're going to run a 24-hour live event during that day. And it's going to be basically as if you were running around the world for 24 hours. And there's going to be a bunch of events internationally, locally, but also at the COP that people will be able to participate in. These are just some pictures from the expedition crossing the Atlantic that I just came back from today, which also is going to be a bit of an input during the Ocean Day. We can go to the next slide. So this is a preliminary schedule of the Ocean Day. We're going to have many different countries participating. We're going to have different types of people because we believe, many different groups have different things to say about the COP and different inputs about ocean and climate related topics. So we're going to have musicians from the US. We're going to have Anadel Canamba, which is from the Philippines. It's going to talk about the nature-based solutions to restore coastal protections. We're also going to have from Germany an artist that will explain how we can preserve the ocean through art. We're going to have also Eric van Sibyl from the Netherlands, from the Young Academy. and he's going to be talking about how we can learn from the media attention on plastic pollution to help to tell the story about oceanic change. We're also going to have collaboration from Nigeria, so Ocean and Climate Science for Transformation Change in West Africa. Also from France, we're going to have Lords of the Oceans, which they are early careers that are going to present about sharks and marine mammals protection. We're going to also have the ground people in Chile that will be talking about the protests and what it means to the world. For us, it is really important that the change of the COP is acknowledged, and that it's still, like Rosana Garay say, that it's still important that it remains Latin American COP. And so we'll be covering that. The European Space Agency will participate and will give an insight of what's going on with the ocean data sets at the Space Agency, and also how artists are collaborating and using the data to draw attention to climate crisis. And obviously we're gonna have people on the ground in Madrid to cover live what's happening and to do some interviews, hopefully with some decision makers. We're also gonna have Colombia, the observatory, the climate change and ocean governments in the greater Caribbean region in Latin America. We're also going to have Canada with Dwight Owens that will present about the northern communities on the front lines of ocean change. We're also going to have the US represented by Scripps with Yassir Edebar. He's going to inform about mitigation, impact, and adaptation to climate change. And we're going to have from Canada again, the marine heat waves in the Northeast Pacific. And finally, we're going to have the US with Ocean as a solution to climate change. How do we do it from inland? So it's inland nations. So this is a preliminary schedule, and this is the preliminary schedule from last week. So things have been updated, and we have more participation from all around the world. You can go up to the next slide, please. So how to participate? It's really simple. We are trying to make it as simple as possible. So you can just simply subscribe to our mailing list, and then you will receive the updates on how to participate for free to these virtual meetings. But if you want to go even more than just participating, you can become a partner. We're still accepting partners until next week. So basically, you can create an event. If we have a time slot, then we can give a time slot for you, usually 1 hour, or maybe because they're mostly complete, then we can give half an hour, 15 minutes. But just get in contact with us. It's really important for us that anyone who thinks has an input in this Blue Cup should email us, and then we can work something out. But at this moment, you can also really help us with the promotion in your social medias, or also in your early careers network. So we have Twitter, Facebook, we have many things that you can find on our website, and then you can just go ahead and promote it to your networks, because I think it's an initiative that many people will be interested in participating. And you can go ahead to the next one. So this is our website, our Twitter, and our Facebook account. It's also our contact information, so the email that you see below. And take a snapshot of that if you want to contact us, and we'll be glad to discuss furthermore inquiries. And thank you very much, everyone, for attending today's presentation.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Louisa. It's lovely to have the Virtual Blue Cup operating this year. We thank you so much for your partnership, and either get in touch with Louisa directly through this website, or I can also help make a connection if that is preferred. So with that, I think we are probably ready to conclude, and always just thank everyone who shows up to our webinars, who is a member of the Alliance, and who advances this work together. As you can see, there's a diverse and dedicated set of actors, which we are all very grateful for, and really thrilled that since our launch at the end of 2016, we have come almost 3 full years now in operation, with some lovely results and very strong partnerships, and looking forward to 2020, post COP25, and beyond. So thank you very much. And with that, wishing you a good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever this finds you.